Hey everyone, welcome to No Ideas Media. I'm Nick Syke, and today, the debate about whether or not the Earth is flat still just rages on. No way, no it doesn't, no. Most people today, emphasis on the most, can understand and intuit that the Earth is in fact around. Science has used all kinds of schemes to prove that the Earth is round. Heck, even a Greek guy proved it using nothing but a stick and the sun like a couple thousand years ago. There's his name right there. I can't say that, but his work has been proved and confirmed by other more advanced techniques. And you know, like astronauts actually seeing it with their own eyes. We non-science people trust those findings and we rely on them daily, like GPS, telecommunications, day, night, it's proof. Or not, if you're a flat earther. You know, those fringe weirdos you see on your Facebook who think that NASA is hiding an Antarctic ice ball that keeps us from falling off the edge of a disc-shaped Earth? Yikes. Well, to each their own, I guess. If you're a flat earther, you're entitled to that belief, and that's just what it is, a belief. The fact that a small group of fringe thinkers challenges the consensus of science does not mean the jury is still out on this. Earth is a sphere. Sorry, not sorry. Today, the debate about whether or not GMO food is safe rages on. Most people, emphasis on the most, can understand and intuit that all the food we eat has been altered on a genetic level at some point in humanity's history of cultivating food. I mean, heck, an Austrian guy named Mendel proved how genes of food change through breeding using nothing but some peas and his careful observation like 200 years ago. His work has been confirmed and observed by more advanced techniques like hybridization or mutagenesis or transgenics. We can see the changes to our food over generations and even eat the results. We non-science, non-farming people rely on the collective understanding of plant genetics on a daily basis. I mean, name it. Seedless watermelons, ruby red grapefruit, broccoli, it's all food. All food is proof that we know what we're doing with plants' genes. Or not, if you're anti-GMO. You know, those fringe oddballs who think Monsanto is trying to destroy the world's food supply and their primary source of revenue through the use of hitherto unknown and untrustworthy black magic to destroy the sanctity of your food. I mean, have you seen what March Against Monsanto is marching against these days? They're taking a page right from Alex Jones here. Yikes. Well, to each their own, I guess. If you're anti-GE, you are entitled to avoid genetically engineered food based on your beliefs about it. But recognize that's what's motivating you. A belief, a feeling about it. A feeling you were told to feel by somebody trying to sell you an alternative. The fact that a small group of fringe thinkers who talk very loudly about their feelings are questioning what scientists know about the genes of our food, it does not mean the jury is still out on this. Sorry, not sorry. Consensus is an important and often misunderstood idea. Doesn't matter what we're talking about here either. We could talk about flat earths, we could talk about vaccines causing autism, or GMOs being poison, or climate change, denial. They all want us to think the consensus of science isn't a consensus at all. They want us to think their conclusions are as valid as those of science. But they're not. There are these really fabulous things called meta-analyses. Analysis is, what's the plural of analyses, right? Okay. There are these really fabulous things that scientists love called meta-analyses. One or two studies on a subject aren't really worth a lot, but dozens or even thousands of studies can give you a much better idea of what the actual trends are over multiple studies. This is important for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that meta-analyses can help overcome the bias of a single study. So like one study says it's generally safe to eat genetically engineered food, but you aren't sure about the journal it's published in or the lead author. Whatever, that's fair. You want more proof. Well, let's look at more studies then. A really good example of this is a recent meta-analysis of 6,000 peer-reviewed studies done between 1996 and 2016 on GMO corn specifically. The analysis concluded that genetically engineered corn increased crop yield by up to 25% and also had health benefits as it decreased the amount of food contaminants. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of the analysis. It's super easy to find online. There's a link in the description, and I'd rather you fact find it on your own to prove that I'm not skewing the findings to make my point. And what is my point? My point is, don't just listen to the fringe weirdo. We've got 6,000 studies where the average conclusion drawn on GMO corn is that it is safe and beneficial. And you're gonna come in here being all anti-GMO and throw down the Seralini study as your clapback, right? That one study done by a scientist who was trying to sell his anti-GMO book at the time, who chose to test the carcinogenic nature of GMO corn and somehow Roundup at the exact same time by feeding Roundup dosed corn to rats that already are designed to have a higher chance of getting cancer, who also chose a tiny little itty bitty test population, who also cherry picked his own findings to hide the fact that the rats fed higher percentages of GMO corn actually had less cancer, who didn't show the control group, who ultimately saw his study unpublished because it was garbage. That's your proof that the scientists involved in these 6,000 studies conducted over the last 20 years all over the world were actually conspiring on behalf of Monsanto and lying. That's your proof that all these scientists were receiving hush money from Monsanto? One crappy study? Really? Okay, well, find me another 5,999 that confirm those findings and give me a meta-analysis of the same quality as this one and we'll have something to talk about. But until then, I have to say that if you're anti-GMO, you need to consider how much you have in common with flat earthers in terms of the logic you're using. If having something in common with a person that thinks the earth is flat is like alarming to you, the best thing you could do is read this meta-analysis I'm talking about. Like, really give it a go. Challenge your beliefs. Or don't. I mean, I'm obviously a shill, right? My perspective is different than your own, so I must be paid to have this opinion. Kind of like how flat earthers think NASA is paying people to keep quiet about this giant ice wall that circles our disk world. Is that really the logic you want to use here? Really? Maybe try being better than flat earthers for your own well-being. Read the analysis as well. Thanks for watching.